Let's define critical thinking. It's thinking aimed at producing criticisms. What is critical thinking? What critical thinking is has often been defined in complex ways by people involved in education. Websites about critical thinking often devote many pages of text in an attempt to unpack what critical thinking is all about. Long lists of verbs like conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and more are supposed to capture what critical thinking is. These are a lot of words, but are you any clearer after reading them? Educational institutions like the International Baccalaureate Office similarly produce long lists of skills like this in an attempt to clarify the meaning. But I think this obfuscates, rather than clarifies, the real pearl of simplicity that is at the heart of critical thinking. Individual academics engaged in education are no better than institutions in this respect. There has recently been a flurry of articles online discussing the importance of critical thinking and bemoaning its apparent absence in public discourse. But when one denies that any clarification or definition of the term is even desirable or possible, we should become critical. We should be critical that the domain of education theory is offering much at all to the conversation about critical thinking. So where should we turn? We should turn to those who, instead of regarding critical thinking as the latest education fad, have actually been engaged in the study of critical thinking as it has been explained for decades, as part of the philosophy called critical rationalism, as explained by Karl Popper. Popper's ideas on what is now called critical thinking is very close to the common sense idea of what people understand this term to mean. Because the type of thinking we are interested in here is critical for our shared understanding of this term. So what better place to turn for that shared understanding than a dictionary? Critical. Adjective. Expressing or involving an analysis of the merits and faults of a work or idea. Or, having a decisive or crucial importance in the success, failure, or existence of something. Now that first sense is the sense we should mean when we refer to critical thinking. Critical thinking will be something to do with an analysis of the merits and faults of a work or idea. But critical thinking is critical in the second sense as well. It's critical like it's absolutely critical that you understand this, which is to say, it's essential to do this if you want to succeed. This common sense idea and Popper's critical rationalism philosophy, explained in his numerous books written throughout the 20th century, allow us to produce a very parsimonious definition of critical thinking. Critical thinking. Thinking aimed at producing criticisms. That's it. That's all there is to it. Now, given our definition, we can turn to strategies that can work to enhance our ability to produce effective criticisms. We can cleanly discriminate between other kinds of thinking that can be just as valuable in other areas and critical thinking. Critical thinking, the thinking aimed at producing criticisms, produces those criticisms precisely because criticism is the very means by which we are able to separate out the true from the false, or the valuable from the worthless, the useful from the useless. Critical thinking. It's about producing criticism. But how to produce criticism, though some strategies are known, is ultimately a creative act. It requires creative thinking. But that discussion we will leave now for another time.